Okay, so when we have downtime, whether it's forced downtime, the coach has said that, you know, we're having a rest period, or we're, you know, or even if we're in between races, there is a key opportunity that presents itself to us, and that is figuring out how to become more stable and more efficient. Too many athletes, and this is where Rob and I work together so well, but too many athletes just focus on getting fit and getting strong. But strong does not necessarily mean stable. And in the world of muscle mechanics, there is a technical term, you get proximal stability for distal mobility. Now what that means is proximal stability is basically a techie term for core stability. So if you improve your core stability accurately, then what happens above and below as a swimmer, cyclist, runner will improve. So if in the pool your catch is struggling, or on the bike you've got trunk issues, or as a runner you're blowing your calves, there's a really good chance the root cause of this problem is what's actually happening in your pelvis, and your pelvic stability will be low. So, you know...
Another thing to think of is if you're plateauing in performance, coming back to the basics of, is I stable through my core, or am I lacking in fitness? And most athletes, lacking in fitness is not an issue. It's the stability in the core. So if you're looking for that performance gain to get you out of a plateau, you want to take the next level up, come back to these things, these core principles.
I mean, you can extrapolate that. I mean, a lot of, say, for a half marathon or a marathon, in an ideal world, you do even splits all the way through. Now, a lot of people think, well, I can't maintain even splits as I get towards the end of the marathon because I'm not fit enough. A huge big part of that is because you've actually hit what's called, it's a technical term, but it's fatigue. And when you hit fatigue, that affects so many of your biomechanical variables, your performance starts to drop. And the root cause of why we get fatigue from a movement perspective is pelvic instability. So I'm going to go through a couple of little drills that is just going to educate Rob a little bit more, and I'm going to show you what stability and instability looks like. And you know, hopefully you can extrapolate this to when you're doing your core exercises at home, which you should be doing all the time. Do it slowly and with control, and really consider how you're doing it. Don't just rip through it. If you rip through it, you're going to be using what you already know how to use, and that's just redundant for everyone. So in the swimming video Rob and I did, I used an example of how to feel your core abs, and a lot of people think core is super hard and super intense and you're going to fatigue, but it's not. It's very subtle and it's very, very deep. A way to feel this yourself is if you're lying on your back as Rob is, and he brings his arms up, yeah, that's it, make two fists, not in anger. So if he keeps his arms straight, his shoulders are down in the joint. Sorry, I'm going to get rid of the biofeedback in a little bit. Okay, and now if he keeps his arms straight and he sort of moderately tries to push me down, so he's trying to push that way, can you feel tension in your lower abs?
Yep.
So that tension is his core firing. Now, I'll explain in a very brief manner. Your lats, they come down and they attach down through here. As your lats fire, if your core doesn't turn on, so push against me, if his core doesn't turn on, he's going to arch his back, and the body doesn't want to do that. Okay, so if you want to know what it feels like to engage your core, just lie on your back, make two fists, and get someone to put their arms like this, and that's what it feels like. Okay, so what does a stable core look like? Okay, so this is called a biofeedback, and if you're really serious about, I mean, they're an investment, but if you're really serious about testing yourself, these are gold. So we put the pad underneath his lower back, make sure he's in neutral spine, tip forward a little bit, go forward, there. Okay, now I'm going to let you see how stable he is. He is not, so when I'm testing...
Do I get to see it?
No, not yet. You will. I've been treating Rob, and if he doesn't do well, it doesn't look good on me. Okay, so go arms down by your side, Rob. Okay, arm stand up, sweetheart. So make sure you've got this, and you can see Rob's tummy. Okay, so you can see how the needle is at 40, plus or minus. If he tips his pelvis back, the needle goes up because he's compressing the pad. If his pelvis tips forward, the needle drops. Okay, so we're going to get it to 40, which is about there, plus or minus 40. Okay, now we're going to get him to bring, get him to bring his left leg up, hold there. Now, We just have to reset it because he's moved his pelvis a touch. That's not him being a failure. That's just positional. He's not a failure. Okay, so as he exhales and glides the leg out, that needle should stay still and back in. So it's very, very, very slightly dropped. Very slightly dropped, not much. So Rob, come back in. I want you to focus on using your pelvic floor a little bit more to hold the pelvis back as you glide out. There you go. And back in. Now, a real failure is when the needle, so let your abs go, Rob, and see how it drops. It plummets like a stone. So that means that as he's gliding his leg out, his hip flexor is grabbing and it's tipping his pelvis forward. And he's having to work quite hard to stabilize this because, I mean, he's a good athlete and these muscles at the front of his hip are super strong, so they want to tip him forward. So that's what we're trying to see.
I can feel that grabbing my hip flexor.
Yeah, probably in part because we've been on the bike.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get you to move through the hip joint. So the leg moves through the hip joint without the pelvis and the lumbar spine moving with it. And there is only one very specific way that we want that to happen. Okay, so lift up. Then lift your feet up, pelvis up. Okay. Okay, so in the privacy of your own home, the reason why most people fail doing core exercises is because they don't know how to use their pelvic floor properly. All you've got to understand when it comes to core stability is that it's about increasing barometric pressure inside your abdominal cavity. So your diaphragm sits here, this area is a fixed volume. If everything is recruiting correctly, we are increasing pressure in that cavity. Okay. Now, if you're not using your pelvic floor, what we see as a false positive is rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack doming, and that's when it kicks up. And we don't want that. So if you want to feel what your pelvic floor feels like, that came out the wrong way, didn't it? No? We're good with that? Okay. You take your index fingers.
We don't edit.
We're not going to edit that out.
No.
That was gold. Take your index fingers. So Rob's going to do it himself. On those, so the bony prominence is at the front of your pelvis. I'm going to come around this way, sweetheart, so you can see a little bit better. So from there, now we take the fingertips in about an inch on both sides, and then we push down into the abdomen. Okay, now your pelvic floor is bowel and bladder control. Okay, so imagine you're sitting on the toilet, and as you exhale, you gently want to feel like you're stopping mid-flow. And all I can feel under Rob's fingertips is a slight increase in pressure. Okay, and that's perfect. Now, Rob, cough. So that. You should be on stage. That was awesome. Very dramatic. As he coughs, it's his external muscle groups doing the work, and that's a false positive. So again, gently lift up through your pelvic floor, gentle, and you can feel it, just a very light lifting underneath his fingertips. Okay, so at home, so relax, bring your leg up into tabletop, and you could apply this to all the different planes of motion that you're doing your core exercises in. This is not something that you just do for exercises, you're trying to apply it to everywhere. As he exhales, he lifts up to his pelvic floor and gently floats the leg out. And what we want is for these guys to be nice and quiet, so he's not gripping like a beast through here. So come back in and go again. Exhale. And what he's doing here is he's drawing down. He's not kicking up, and that's exactly what I want. If he was kicking up, that's wrong. See, there you go. Perfect. So he's drawing down. So practice that at home. And then what you want to try and do is see if you can get that same application in standing. That can maybe be another video. How to stand properly. Yeah. But take your time with your core stuff. Don't rush into it. Don't bash it out, because what you will be not doing is recruiting correctly, and you're wasting your time. So get stable.
Yeah, and it's about forming a pattern of this muscle movement so that when you are running, it almost becomes natural.
Yeah.
And it's just
those
muscles work because you've been teaching them to do that.
Yeah.
The whole way.
There's one key thing I was asked in an interview the other day about is a certain athlete that I work with about the one reason why she is as good as she is. And the reason why she is as good as she is because she applies. She doesn't just do the exercises and then go out and move and forget about it. She applies all the time. And that is why a big part of the reason why she's so good.
So if you find that when you're doing those workouts that really test your limits in terms of speed or power, and you find towards the end of the set or even towards the end of an interval that you begin to fail, then it could come down to this fairly basic principle.
Yep.
If you nail this stuff, then training and racing becomes a lot more effective.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like from a running perspective, get a video of yourself when you're running fresh, then get another video of yourself when you're fatigued at the end of your long run, and in an ideal world, you look the same in both. So if it's grossly different, there's probably a stabilization reason as to why.
Yeah, have a look at your, for those of you who do Ironman or 7.3s, have a look at your finish photo versus the photo at the start of the run.
They are the best.
Yeah, some of the finish photos.
They are one of your athletes who will remain nameless.
Yeah, some of the finish photos can be pretty
ugly,
markedly different.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is fatigue.
Yeah.
There and there, right there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
So use this downtime to focus on technique and being stable. And what that means is that when you come back towards building into a race, you're going to be a lot more efficient, a lot more stable, which is good for everyone.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.